for its war crimes against humanity, creation of an Arab Islamic task force.
OIC members as a whole produce roughly a quarter of the world's energy and well over 40% of global crude output. The joint communiqué issued a non-binding call on rich Gulf nations to, quote, impose sanctions, suspend the supply, transfer or transit of weapons, ammunition and military materials, and also to review diplomatic and economic relations. During the hours of speeches, the silence of the signatories of Abraham Accords, UAE, Bahrain and Morocco was notable. And despite his strong statements against the attack on Qatar.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to close the hearing.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor of closing the hearing state aye.
Aye.
Any objections? That hearing is closed, and we'll hear the council discuss this matter later on the agenda. Next is the consent agenda, items 10 through 13. Alder Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to accept and file the documents.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the agenda, on any of the agenda items for the consent agenda? All right, seeing none, this is a roll call vote. Those items are approved. Next, under resolutions 12, resolution number 93, 25, 26 by Alders Decker and Prella, commemorating the distinguished service of Barbara Feldy to the city of Sheboygan. Alder Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. It's an honor to move to adopt this resolution.
It's an honor to second it.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Under discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Ayes.
All right, that item is approved. All right, item 15, resolution number 94, 25, 26 by Alderpersons Decker and Prella, authorizing the appropriate city officials to sign the January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2028 contract between the city of Sheboygan and the International Association of Firefighters Local 483. Alder Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. I ask to suspend the rules.
Any objections to suspension? Hearing none. Alder Decker, proceed with your motion.
I move to adopt the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Under discussion, Alder Bellinger.
Thank you. As usual, I'd like an explanation for the public as to why we're suspending the rules. This thing has gone on for a long time. We're even backdating it to 2024. So, I mean, I don't know why we're suspending the rules. I guess I would like to know why we're doing that. So thank you.
Thanks, Alder Bellinger. Deputy City Attorney.
Thank you. You'll note that on the agenda, item number 24, as a matter laid over, is RC number 25-25-26. This was the original document that went through committee. Errors were identified. Those have been reviewed. The contract has been reviewed, finalized. All the errors have been corrected between both the city and the union. So we thought that it would be appropriate to suspend the rules for the new document on the same agenda as we are placing the old document on file.
Thank you. Thank you. Other discussion on this matter? Seeing no more discussion, this is a roll call vote.
Ayes.
That is approved. Next, item 16, resolution number 90-25-26 by Alders Decker and Rust, designating the city forester as the city's authorized representative for the purpose of the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources urban forestry grants for the calendar year of 2026, and directing him to submit an urban forestry grant application. Alder Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to adopt the resolution.
Second. Moved and seconded. Under discussion on this matter. Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Ayes.
Thank you. That's approved. Next is item 17, resolution number 91, 2526 by Alders Decker and Rust, authorizing the appropriate city officials to enter into contract for the demolition and associated site restoration of the city-owned property located at 930 North 8th Street and contiguous city-owned property to the west of the former hotel and restaurant to clear the land for future development. Alder Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to adopt the resolution.
Second. Moved and seconded. Under discussion on this matter. Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Ayes.
That's approved. Item 18, resolution number 922526 by Alders Mitchell and Perella, authorizing the appropriate city officials to enter into a renewal contract with City and Villages Mutual Insurance for public entity liability insurance. Alder Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to adopt the resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Under discussion on this matter. Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Ayes.
That's approved. Item 19, general ordinance number 152526 by Alders Rust and Lefebvre, amending sections of the Sheboygan Municipal Code related to dog kennel licenses and animal fancier permits. Alder Rust.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to adopt the ordinance.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on this matter? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Ayes.
That is approved. Item 20 will be referred to the Plan Commission. Next, under item 21, general ordinance number 32526 by Alders Decker and Perella, being subject to the home rule provisions of section 66.0101 of the Wisconsin State Statutes to authorize primary elections whenever 3 or more candidates file nomination papers for elective city office. Alder Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to adopt the charter ordinance.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Under discussion on this matter. Alder Heidemann?
Thank you, Mayor. Having read the ordinance and stuff like that, what if somebody had to have a write-in campaign, does that mean that doesn't go to the city clerk's office? And if they're doing that on their own, we wouldn't have to have a primary if all of a sudden somebody says 2 people filed their papers and the guy says, well, I'm going to have a write-in campaign. Then there would be no primary? How does that work out?
I'm not sure on that answer. I wouldn't think so.
All right. Deputy City Attorney.
I'm sorry.
Write-in.
I'm not 100% positive, but my thinking is that there would not be a primary because there would be no advance notice from which to develop the ballot. And instead, the write-in candidate would just be the fill-in-the-blank write-in candidate on the general election.
Okay, thank you. Because I've been around for quite a while, and it happened out in Sheboygan Falls, and we had no primary. And I thought, well, but we're changing the charter ordinance. Might as well ask, right?
There we go.
Okay.
Thanks. Alder Heidemann. Alder Bellinger.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to ask the Deputy City Attorney if you could give us a legal reason why we're doing this. I've been involved in several primary elections, and the city's always run primary elections when there's been more than 3 candidates. I mean, are we stating the obvious here? Or, I mean, can you give me the reason why we're doing this?
It's actually state statute that you have to do one of 3 things. You can either not have a primary for a city February election. You can pass a resolution every time that there would be 3 or more candidates, or you would pass a charter ordinance that would require it every single time. So that hadn't been in our code in the past.
So in the past, there was always a vote when there were 3 candidates?
There should have been.
Or not? Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion on this matter? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Alder Perella? Thank you.
10 ayes.
That's approved. Next, under matters laid over, item 22, resolution number 742526 by Alders Decker and Rust vacating a 0.03 acre portion of right-of-way on the east side of North Fish Street, adjacent to Lot 1, Block 5 of the Assessment Subdivision number 21 of the City of Sheboygan, Sheboygan County. Alder Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to adopt the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Under discussion, Alder Decker.
I move to amend the final paragraph to be it further resolved, paragraph amend alley to property.
There's been a motion to amend, and there's been a second by Alder Rust. Under discussion on the amendment, Alder Bellinger?
Not on the amendment.
Okay, any discussion on the amendment? All those in favor of approving the amendment to add the aforementioned language, please state aye.
Aye.
Any other discussion? That amendment is approved. Now back to the motion as amended. Alder Bellinger.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to thank Mr. Reese for his patience during this whole thing. He reached out to me, it seems like a long time ago, to get this accomplished. It's a rather unusual request. And it is in my neighborhood, so I'm very familiar with what's going on with this. And he is correct visually. You're not going to see any kind of change whatsoever as far as the street or what's going on. He has made some significant improvements to his property, so I appreciate that, as does the rest of the neighborhood. But also I'd like to thank the city engineer, the street superintendent, the public works director, and the deputy city attorney with the matter on this as well, and Meredith, you too as well, because I know this was unusual and it did require some additional legwork on city staff's part. So thank you for doing this, and I fully support this. And I just wanted to put that out there first.
Thank you for those comments, Alder Bellinger. Any other discussion on this matter? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote as amended.
Ten ayes.
That's approved. All right. Next item, 23. RC number 232526 by the Finance and Personnel Committee, to whom was referred direct referral general ordinance number 62526 by Alderpersons Decker and Mitchell, amending, repealing, and recreating provisions related to the matter of selection and tenure of the city attorney. Alder Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to receive the RC and adopt the ordinance.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Under discussion on this, Attorney Serwin.
I'm way over here this time. So this has been a long time coming. This is what was coming after the charter ordinance, and so just by quick way of overview, the charter ordinance passed. That means this is now an appointed position. This is the ordinance that will regulate that position. And so from a 5,000-foot view, the goal of this ordinance would be to put whatever checks and balances and concerns in that you feel are necessary and appropriate. Some quick, I guess, to head off some discussions, or not head off, I want there to be discussions, but you're currently under a alderperson, common council, mayor kind of setup, correct? And so you have your executive branch, the mayor's office, the city administrator, they run those executive functions. You have the legislative branch, the common council, who dictates all the laws and creates that legislation. The base level of oversight right now is that by virtue of the charter ordinance itself, the Common Council has the authority and the only authority to be the entity that terminates or would remove that city attorney position. So without doing anything, the Common Council has that by 3/4 vote of all the members. What you're doing today then is looking at the kind of regulatory ordinance that we've proposed and either suggesting changes now, or if there are more substantive changes that we are, or that you want explored further. It came from committee, and that might be another place where you could send it back to. I don't know if that's something that you frequently do, but rather than do it live on the floor and then feel uncomfortable about it, that might be an alternative option. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, or suggestions for language, it's completely up to you however you want to proceed. I have no horse in this race.
All right, thank you, Attorney Serwin. Alder Perrella.
I would like to propose an amendment to this ordinance, and that would be to reflect that the city attorney will report to and be evaluated by the Common Council with input from the mayor, the city administrator, and the HR department.
Is there, just a clarifying question regarding the amendment, is there a section you're wishing to add this in?
Yes, this would be to be added, I believe, to section 328B1. Let me double check on that.
Can you have her review it as well?
Under, yes, that would be, I stand corrected, 2-348B1. Basically, there is the B1, there is all the language about the city attorney shall be a full-time officer, and it ends with by any legal means deemed appropriate by law or municipal code. So rather than a change, this would be in addition to that paragraph, just establishing the reporting structure.
Okay, just for the record, can you restate your amendment so the clerk can properly?
That language to be added to that paragraph would be the city attorney will report to and be evaluated by the Common Council with input and guidance from the mayor, city administrator, and director of human resources.
Got it. City Clerk's got it. Is there a second on that motion? Is there a second on that motion? Hearing no second, that motion fails. Now back to the main general ordinance. Any discussion on the general ordinance? Alder Boris.
I would like to ask Alder Perrella, if I could, if there's additional language that we would contemplate per Attorney Serwin's guidance. This might be referred back to committee for additional discussion. And so I think that might be another option that we could explore. I'm not making that motion necessarily, but I do know that there's new information that's just recently been provided that, shares some additional guidance there. So I just wanted to comment on that publicly. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Alder Boris. Alder Rust.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I echo Alder Boris' comments. I feel like that this should have been brought up in committee as well. It was voted on in committee unanimously, it looked like, and I would hope that the committee in the future would discuss these items before coming to council with them. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder Rust. Alder Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. I, as Chair of Finance Personnel, would not be in favor of bringing this back to committee. This has essentially gone through committee twice at this point already, so we've had that time for discussion. And the job description as a follow-up item still is an area of opportunity to continue to shape that position to exactly what this council wants it to see it be. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder Mitchell. Alder Perrella.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody's input. At the committee level, we established that we wanted to wait for a discussion. We wanted to wait the legal time, I believe it was the 90 days, because this ordinance could be challenged. That was the time that legally could still be challenged. So it would be a waste of time to discuss it ahead of time, or at least that's what I interpreted from what I was told. That's the reason that, at that point, there was no additional discussion. But I appreciate everybody's input. If the colleagues want to bring it back to committee, I'm fine with that. Otherwise, I just appreciate everybody's discussion on this and inputs. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Perrella. Any other discussion on this item? All right, seeing no more cues, this is a roll call vote.
9 ayes, 1 no.
All right, that item is approved. Next, item 24, RC number 252526 by the Finance and Personnel Committee, to whom was referred direct referral resolution number 192526 by Alderpersons Mitchell and Perrella, authorizing the appropriate city officials to sign the January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2028 contract between the City of Sheboygan and the International Association of Firefighters Local 483. Alder Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to file.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Seeing any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of filing state aye.
Aye.
Any objections? That item is filed. All right, next is a contemplated closed session. Alder Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to convene in closed session under the exemption contained in Wisconsin statutes number S 19.85 sub 1 sub G when conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering written or oral advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved, to wit, possible action regarding various licenses held by J.N. Cortez LLC, DBA Mi Ranchito 2.
Second.
Moved and seconded. This is a roll call vote.
Thank you. 9 ayes, 1 no.
All right, we'll convene in closed session and we'll reconvene in open session in a few minutes. Ian, can you hear us? Is he on? Ian, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there we go. You might want to turn up the volume, Scott, a little bit. All right. It's 7:39. I'll reconvene the council to open session. Alder Decker.
I move to reconvene an open session for discussion and possible action related to closed session.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Clerk, we'll call the roll.
Is everybody online? Can I do this?
Yeah.
Sorry, you were glitching. Am I?
Yeah, we can hear you. We're voting right now to reconvene an open session.
Sorry, glitching. I wasn't sure. Sorry.
Okay, 10 ayes.
All right, we are back in open session. All right, item 27, report 162526 by licensing hearing and public safety committee submitting finding of facts and consideration of law based upon testimony and exhibits presented at the quasi-judicial hearing held on August 25th, 2025 regarding the license held by J.N. Cortez LLC, DBA Miranchiro, license number 3475 in the city of Sheboygan. Alder Rust.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we adopt or accepting the findings of fact and conclusions of law document based on testimony and exhibits presented at the quasi-judicial hearing.
Second. All right, moved and seconded. Under discussion. Any discussion? Any amendments? Any amendments?
That's just the finding of fact.
All right. Okay. All right. This item is just on the facts and findings of law as stated. Seeing no more discussion. This is a roll call vote.
Alderperson Bellinger?
Aye.
Alderperson Force?
Aye.
Alderperson Close?
Aye.
Alderperson Decker?
Aye.
Alderperson Heidemann?
Aye.
Alderperson LaFave?
Aye.
Alderperson Menzer?
Aye.
Alderperson Mitchell?
Aye.
Alderperson Perella?
Aye.
Alderperson Rust? There are 10 ayes.
All right. The facts and findings are approved. Any other discussion or motions on this item? Alder Perella.
I make a motion to accept the committee's recommendation.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the committee's recommendation and seconded under discussion. All right, seeing no discussion, or Alder Decker?
If we want to amend
You'd make a motion to amend right now.
I make a motion to amend it to a full revocation.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to go from a suspension to a full revocation of the licenses, and Alder Bellinger seconded. Under discussion on the amendment regarding the revocation. Alder Boris.
I appreciate the varying opinions that may exist on this particular matter. I think the committee took full consideration of the facts in order to make the determination that we did. I think that given the lack of precedent that exists for circumstances of this nature, it's more appropriate to follow the recommendation that was made as opposed to a revocation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for those comments. Alder Perella.
This was a hard decision. I support the suspension based on the findings. However, this is, I want to reiterate how difficult this decision on my end is, and the fact that I will be watching very closely the cooperation of this licensee with our police officers. And just as a reminder, the license is renewed every year, and it will be very shortly up for renewal, and the history of this license will be taken in full consideration for any renewal that comes back to our committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Other discussion on the amendment? All right, seeing no more amendments, this is a roll call vote. On the amendment, the amendment is to go from a suspension to a revocation for the license. We're voting on the amendment.
Okay. Alderperson Bellinger.
Aye.
Alderperson Boris.
Nay.
Alderperson Close.
Nay.
Alderperson Decker.
Aye.
Alderperson Heidemann.
Aye.
Alderperson LaFave. Alderperson Menzer.
Aye.
Alderperson Mitchell.
Aye.
Alderperson Perella.
Nay.
Alderperson Rust.
Nay.
That's 5 ayes and 5 noes.
All right, it's a tie. The chair votes nay. We're back to accepting the committee's recommendation. Any further discussion on the committee's recommendation? Seeing no more, this is a roll call vote.
Alderperson Bellinger.
Nay.
Alderperson Boris.
We are voting on the
Suspension, yes.
aye.
Alderperson Close.
Aye.
Alderperson Decker.
Aye.
Alderperson Heidemann.
No.
Alderperson LaFave.
Aye.
Alderperson Menzer.
Nay.
Alderperson Mitchell.
Aye.
Alderperson Perella.
Aye.
Alderperson Rust.
Yay.
7 ayes, 3 noes.
That is approved. All right, we've exhausted the agenda. Alder Decker, what's your privilege?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor of adjournment, state aye.
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned at 7:45.
I hope that was here.
Please, help Roger get that. All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the September 15th Committee of the Whole. We'll start with roll call.
Alderperson Bellinger.
Here.
Alderperson Boris.
Here.
Alderperson Close.
Here.
Alderperson Decker.
Here.
Alderperson Heidemann.
Here.
Alderperson LaFave.
Here.
Alderperson Menzer.
Here.
Alderperson Mitchell.
Here.
Alderperson Perella.
Here.
Alderperson Rust.
Present.
There are 10 present.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty, I'm looking for approval of minutes from the June 25th Committee of the Whole meeting.
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor of approving those minutes, state aye.
Aye.
All, chair votes aye, those are approved. Anybody for public forum?
No one this evening.
All right, item number 6, 2026 budget presentation by City Administrator Casey Bradley. So I'm going to advise this committee to write down your questions, and we are going to ask them at the end. All right? Thank you. All right, take it away.
All right, thank you. Scott, could we pull the presentation up? All right, good evening. I was asked to get through this pretty quick, so if you have questions and we can't get them answered tonight, please follow up with me, or if you have questions afterwards, feel free to shoot me an email or Caitlin. Before I get started, I just want to thank Caitlin and Evan and Marie. We have spent a lot of time, and not nearly as much as the finance staff has, in trying to get through all of this. So initial budgets came back to us from departments on August 15th, and we've been working diligently ever since to try getting everything done. Our goal is to get a balanced budget. We're still in the budget process, so things are changing as we get more information in. We were balanced when we went home Friday. And we had some things that have changed, so you're going to see we have about a $55,000 shortfall right now. We're working through that. There's still a number of things that are outstanding, but as we get more information, Friday we got the rest of our dental vision came in at a 12% increase, and we were projecting a 6% based on the feedback we're getting. So that changed, so we haven't had time to go back and try to look at different areas in the budget and where changes can be made. And then we also have a few other programs we're still waiting on, and I'll get into that in a little bit here. But we've met with all the department heads one-on-one to review every budget request, go through nearly every line item of every budget. Department heads obviously had to justify any additional requests, but we went through every line item, understanding all the changes. And then you'll see online, we've got the full line item budget. We're not here to discuss that. We don't want to make everyone go through. That took us about 3 weeks to go through all of that with all our department heads. So this is just kind of a quick summary where we're at. We're about 51,114 not to balance yet. What we're still missing or still outstanding, we've got estimates in the budget, but the finalization of the Wisconsin Department of Transportation aids, shared revenue estimates, including utility aid, expenditure restraint, manufacturing from the department, manufactured home values from the Department of Revenue, finalized assessed value. The Board of Review is September 9th and September 30th. They'll be finalizing, and then finalization of the wastewater treatment budget, and then our updated fee schedules. So additional review updates will occur until all figures are received. Notable changes in the 2025 budget. We have an addition of a 0.5 FTE at Uptown Social that is completely grant funded the way it's proposed. We have a reduction of our contribution to the Sheboygan County Economic Development Corporation and replace that with a full-time FTE. So that's cost neutral in the budget, but it still does leave about $10,000 of our contribution to SEEDC, but changing that and using more in-house staff as opposed to an outside organization. And then we have additional staff in the general fund, and we'll go through that once we get into the general fund. So refuse and sanitation, or refuse fund, so this is recycling and sanitation. Last year when we came in to discuss, we talked about increasing the fee $1 per year each year going forward. So you'll see that we're slowly reducing our expenses and covering them with the fee above and beyond where we started at. So the idea is that the recycling and refuse fund would then become self-sustaining. So we're proposing adding another $1 to the fee in 2026, and you'll see essentially the new revenue that's been generated and the ability to start backing out some of the tax levy that has been supplementing that since 2011, I believe. So this is the first fees and starting to make it more sustainable on its own. Facilities and Grounds Department. we're looking at a structural change. So we created the Facilities and Grounds Department last year and created the director position, moving that out from DPW and making a standalone department. With that, the library kind of has its own staff independent of our other departments, and they've decided that they would like to move their staff under our building and grounds director as well. So in this budget, we're proposing a new structure where we move oversight and all the associated funding from the library fund over to the general fund, and then it would become part of that department. So it's essentially moving the staff, the personnel, and the budget from the library over. And they are going to be moving forward with a resolution authorizing that change, and with the understanding that if for some reason we decided to cut it, that funding and the personnel would go back to the library. So same thing we did with the finance position. Ultimately, we moved finance over into the general fund, and is currently handled through the finance department instead of an FTE there. The costs were shifted over to cover the costs. So the goal is cross-training, increased assistance among all buildings, easier reporting, tracking for building maintenance and cost history. And we were successful in, we had contracted services at the police department. We converted that to a position last year to a FTE rather than contracting out. And that's been going pretty well. I don't know, Kurt's, we've had a little turnover in that position, but overall it's went pretty well, and the existing staff have been able to fill in the transition there. 2026 salary and benefits costs. Draft budget includes the following salary changes: non-represented step and cost living adjustment. The COLA is 2.67. Last year when we updated the personnel policy, we benchmarked it against a standard, and the standard that we selected in the personnel policy was the Social Security Cost of Living Index that is set December 31st each year. So we're going off what the projected is, and our goal is every 5 years that we're at least meeting that standard. So they're projecting somewhere between 2.5 to 2.8. And it looks like it's just trended up a little bit higher now, but we're looking at 2.67 is what we've put into the budget. So we're right near that mark. The police union contract has a 3.5% increase in it. Fire has that 2 and 2 that was just approved as part of the meeting earlier this evening. And transit, we do have a placeholder in. Their contract, while adopted last year, had 2 years of prior negotiations in it. So we're in the third year of that contract. It expires December 31st, 2025. So we're going to be entering into contract negotiations with them. We have a placeholder in, but we don't have a negotiated contract, so we don't have a set amount in here yet. Wisconsin Retirement Fund, we had a pension increase. Health insurance premiums, as I stated, we just got the final amounts, so 9.3% on health insurance, and dental insurance, we were projecting 6%, they came in at 12%. So we can go back if there's any questions on salaries, but here's our projected impact on the budget for each of those. Non-represented salary benchmark, again, back to what we're using as our benchmark, Social Security Index Fund. And you can kind of see how we match against the index. In 2023, the City Council did their wage study, and in the wage study, they put us to market. So now we're tracking with, by doing this increase this year, or in the 2026, the SSI increase has been 5.7% increase over that time, and the pay increases that we've instituted have been 5.1. So we're definitely within the standard, so we're within the market range of our wage adjustments. All right. Some of the bigger changes that will be coming online in the 2026 budget, enterprise permitting and licensing project. It's a new module that was approved earlier as a part of the Tyler system. We'll be instituting this, we hope, in Q2 of 2026. Essentially, it integrates directly with Tyler Munis software. It's for all building inspections and all planning. So special permits, things like that will be going through that. All of your building permits will be going through that. So trying to integrate all of our systems together, increase functionality, and hopefully make the customer experience for the public more seamless as well. So increased functionality, efficiency, including online permit applications, including payments and tracking of status, reduction of double keying of applications, in the field picture and note taking for the inspectors, clearly defined and trackable approval workflow, and automatic delivery of notices. The new city website, we're estimated to go live February 2026. Significant changes. Obviously, there'll be a completely new website altogether. What we will be moving to is fully compliant with all the ADA standards. In 2026, April, I believe it's 24th, 2026, all communities over 50,000 have to be fully compliant. In 2027, April 24th, 2027, I believe is the date, all communities under 50,000 have to be compliant. So our goal is to make sure that we're compliant prior to that date. We're currently on track to make sure that we're going to meet compliance, and we did opt for the higher compliance. So we should exceed all of the new ADA requirements for our website. In addition to that, we will be going live with our open records request and submission portal, consolidating all of our websites and domains, or the bulk of them. Library will still have their own, and I believe Transit will still have their own. And then everybody else will be operating under the city domain, the cityofsheboygan.gov domain. Security enhancements, social media archiving, citizen reporting should be greatly enhanced through the new 311 feature. And the other major component is mass notifications. So we'll be able to distribute notifications, not only through obviously email distribution, but the functionality of the website will also allow mass notifications for folks that sign up for it. So better opportunity to get notifications out for like DPW events, not just law enforcement related events. So dual function, and will help reduce costs and some of the other products that we're using. Marina redesign, we just spent the last month or so going through requests for proposals from firms. We should have a final recommendation moving through committees and then up to council in the next month or so. But we have a recommendation for an engineering firm that will ultimately design. So our plan is to have design commencing yet this year, award the contract, start design work, and then finalize design in 2026 for the marina, with construction taking place optimally towards the end of 2026 into 2027. And financially sound year for the marina in 2025. One thing we wanted to point out, fuel sales actually were a record. It was the highest fuel sales that they have records of. So I know it's been a lot of negative for the marina, but that was something that we just wanted to share. And maintenance costs due to ice damage was less than budgeted by about $90,000. So we're trending in the right direction. And then just a kind of overall, this is a draft expense budgets by fund. So you can see we're about 5%, 5.49% up in the general fund. Grants, we're 100% down. So Caitlin was very excited about this. This is the ARPA funds being fully expended. So this is related to the Gateway. The Gateway project. So obviously that's well under construction. We're just waiting for the reimbursement. Once those funds are out, we're able to close out that fund. Not really any large changes. Obviously tax increment district are spending is projected to be lower than it was in the prior years. Capital projects, obviously, a very large increase. We've got a number of different changes. We'll go through that once we get into the capital budget. And then wastewater's got some pretty significant projects in as well. Southside Interceptor being the predominant one. So then everything else is pretty much in line. Anything you wanted to highlight, Caitlin? Nope. All right. General fund note. So additional FTEs. So I know Alder Heidemann had contacted me specifically about a communications person. Happy to report we were able to work that into the budget. So we do have a communications specialist in there. The top priority that I had for a position, if the funding was available, was to look at getting our code enforcement staff back up to par. I had received a lot of feedback, obviously, from planning and development, and then the attorney's office, Attorney Majerus, and I had some discussions about how this was impacting their office, the lack of not having that staff, and law enforcement. There was a pretty good relationship there, and it sounds like over the last couple of years, our planning department kind of prioritized those positions otherwise. So our proposal here is to reestablish those positions, and they would be essentially 2 full-time positions that would be dedicated to code enforcement. And that should get us back to where we were and exceed some of that workload. I think before we had two part-time FTEs, and that through the budget process over the last couple of years got changed, so we're putting it back to where it was. And then we have 3 police officer positions in here. These are contingent. We have a 50% funding status on those. We did apply for a COPS grant, which is a federally funded grant that's a 3-year grant where they'll fund about 50% of the positions, and then we're responsible for the other 50%. So with the growth that we know is coming, we made a priority to make sure that we were able to get this into the budget, and with the intent that if it's not funded, then we'll take that grant funding back, the 50%, the $150,000 that we have in there, we'll take that, put it back into capital. So those are in there just kind of as speculative. We hope to find out in October.
This month. It's supposed to be this month.
This month. So we'll see. Like I said, it's a federal grant, so information flowing from federal grants right now has been a little dicey. So we have it in the budget. If it gets approved, then we'll be able to keep that in there and accept that grant. You'll see another big change between the library fund and the general fund. We're moving library maintenance as discussed earlier. And then one of the things that we're able to do in this budget is for radio replacement for fire and police department. We now have it set up as a charge for each radio, kind of like we do with the computers. So what we've done in the IT fund is we've set up a charge for every laptop. There's a charge for every user, every laptop. There's just an annual charge to help fund a replacement fund, as opposed to coming and building a capital fund each year. We just charge basically a depreciation amount as part of the annual interdepartmental charge, and we also created that with all the radios. So each radio that is assigned, whether it's to an officer or a car, we charge that fee, and we're able to move that into the operating budget as opposed to looking at it as a debt service issue. So slowly trying to work long-term costs into the annual operating budget and off of debt service. And then just the general fund operating expenses by department. Administration, we have the addition of that communications position, so that's why there's that large increase there. See, elections, it's a large elections year, so essentially you see a big decrease every other year and a big increase This is an increase year because we could have potentially upwards of, 5 elections? Plan for 4, but you never know. So that's the increase there. It's not any additional staff or anything like that. Building inspection, I believe that large increase is due to the code enforcement positions being added back in. So that's the large increase there. And a shift in the development staff within the same budget or within the same department. Police department, that large increase is related to adding 3 FTEs into there. And then half of that would be grant funded. Fire. Salary and benefit. That's the largest portion there. Public Works Administration. I'll let Caitlin expound on that one. 45% increase.
Yeah, pretty much we determined that there was some reallocations that were needed for some salary positions. So that's an increase. Since we have posted this budget, we actually have figured out that there's some that can go back to streets. So it was actually in wastewater previously, so it's going to be going to streets. So the high increase in public works admin, quite a bit of that will be going to streets. And that way too, they're direct, based on the state report, they're directly in function with the streets section of the report, which actually helps our DOT aid too. So we're doing a reallocation, which will be in the next version of this budget.
So that's a lot of those changes that are in here are actually reallocations. We went through and reallocated a good portion of our DPW department and almost all of our planning and development departments. So let's see, capital projects. So total approved requests in 2025 were about 82 million. In our previous 2026, we were projecting about 64 million. We're at 100 million for the 2026, what's been submitted by departments. Significant changes, obviously the addition of the police department expansion, public safety campus being pulled forward, and then an increase for road projects and wastewater lakeshore interceptor. Those were projects that were projected to be done previously and just kind of drug out, so they've been in the plan. And same thing with, we had the Fire Station 3, Fire Station 2 projects in prior budgets. We haven't spent that money yet, so it's just rolling forward. So they're in the budget, but the new additions of new expenditures are going to be the police department expansion. We had partially funded in there. Now we have the full, now that we have the estimate. And then the rest of the training side of that campus is in there as well. In the 26 capital budget, we have planning for a DPW storage building. The design portion of that, building maintenance improvements at the Municipal Services Building, DPW. We have building maintenance improvements at Police Department, Public Safety Campus construction commencing, Police Department expansion, and then the remodel of Station 2. We have, as we've discussed in the presentation, we have them slated in here. Obviously, nothing will be done until the projects are approved by council. So at this point, this is just where we're projecting them. If council decides to do something differently, obviously that plan will change, but that's how we have them for now. Police Department, we just have the normal vehicle rotation so no real changes took place in their vehicle rotation. Fire Department, yeah, we didn't get the boat in there, so.
Meeting adjourned.
So the boat didn't survive the request, but we have dive equipment, replacement of fitness equipment at the various fire stations, turnout gear replacement, updating some of the older station furniture. We do have the large item for them is going to be the ambulance this year, a command vehicle, and then we have a firefighting rescue drone in there. The ambulance, Unfortunately, we have our traditional cycle. It's about 3 years from when this is approved. We make the payment. It's about 3 years before we actually get the fire truck or the ambulance. So we have a great need for it now. We've had some issues with the replacement not holding up very well, but it's going to be 3 years once we approve this before we actually get it. So it's unfortunate of the supply chain right now. Parks and Forestry, we have dog fencing. I believe this is the last year of our dog fencing projects. We have the Park Road reconstruction, the Maywood Trail Bridge replacement. We're going to go through another parks assessment plan, and then we've got Evergreen Park Forest Plan and Park Sign Replacement Program. And then we also have another cycle of our ADA infrastructure throughout the parks. That's just every 2 years we do a program where we update and get different areas into ADA compliance. Street lighting, we have sidewalk repair, replacement program citywide, stormwater management plan, various street improvements, programmable message board, Geely Pond improvements, New Jersey Trail, South Charles Drive to River Park Road, LED street lighting upgrades citywide, and then traffic control citywide as well. In IT, we have update of the data center and then our typical computer replacement program. So in the motor vehicle fund, we're looking at replacing some dump trucks, tandem axles, street sweeper, front end loader, forklift, and zero turn mower. The ones that are marked with Salter, we're also looking at brine. So we're slowly transitioning the fleet to more and more brine, which reduces our salt costs and also helps with our stormwater permit because of the runoff going into the lake. The more brine we use, the less runoff we have. So that also helps us in that aspect. Okay. There we go. All right. That's not right. Sorry, we're just getting these finalized. So for our TID projects, we do not have any acquisition of land projected in TID 18, but we do have property purchases in the project plan for TID 21. We have the Commerce Street Riverwalk construction, and we have the Harbor Center marina revitalization and repurpose, and then we have Gartman Farm moving forward as well. And this is probably our biggest increase, our 2026 street projects. We're looking at nearly doubling the amount of work we did from prior years. In 2025, we had about 4.5 million in street projects budgeted. In 2026, we're looking at 7 million. We're looking at South 18th Street reconstruction, Whedon Creek to Sunnyside Avenue, Erie Avenue, North 19th to Taylor Drive, Lakeshore Drive, Mead Avenue to the railroad tracks, Ontario Avenue, North 10th Street to North 12th Street, North 11th Street, we're looking at Ontario to Erie, North 12th, Ontario to Erie as well. Kentucky Avenue, we're looking at South 9th Street to South 11th Street, and then Clara Avenue, South 8th Street to South 13th Street. And the sidewalk replacement program, we've budgeted $290,000. We had $90,000 left over from the 2025 budget, so we're rolling that over and keeping it in the sidewalk program as well. And then our stormwater management plan, we have $250,000 in projects planned there as well. And then our in-house street projects, we're looking at South 20th Street, Georgia Avenue to Indiana, Dillingham Avenue, South 8th to South 12th, South 7th Street, we're looking at Mead Avenue to Union Avenue, North 16th Street, we're looking at Salem Avenue to Superior Avenue. Ontario Avenue, we're looking North 10th to North 12th Street. North 11th Street, we're looking at Ontario to Erie, same on 12th again. And then Division Avenue, we're looking at North 15th to North 17th Street. Wastewater capital funds, again, this another heavy year for them. I'd point out Southside Interceptor, that's been one that's been in the budget for a number of years. It's rolling forward, and our intent is to have that project under construction in 2026. So design is nearly complete, and that's been planned for a very long time. So we hope to have that final approval from the DNR and moving forward very soon. Next steps in the budget, we're looking at September 15th, draft budget documents will be posted on the city's website. September 30th, updated proposed budget on the city's website, matching budget resolution. Another committee of the whole on October 14th, final review of the budget and capital plan and referral back to council. And then November 3rd, looking at council adopting the 2026 budget resolution and the 2026 to 2030 capital plan. I think I hit your timer. A little off, sorry.
You're good. All right, any questions for Administrator Bradley and the budget? Thank you. Alder Perella.
Thank you, Chair. Will you please share this presentation? Yep. Thank you, much appreciated. So it will be
we'll
easier.
Put it on the website so the public has it, and we'll email it out to council.
Thank you, Thank you very much. I have one question. The capital, so the slide you had on capital projects, maybe the first or the second, you said that, so the capital project amount to about 82 million and 25, and that an increase from 64 million and 538. Right. So what do you mean with in previous? Can you go back, please?
Yep. Can you pull that back up?
Here we are. So what do you mean with the total request in previous?
Ooh, there we go. This slide you're referring to?
Yes, please.
Okay. So in 2025, we had total requests in 2025 for 82 million, and that was what was budgeted. And then in the 2025 capital plan that we adopted this year, we had 64 million planned for 2026. Now the 2026 is 103 million. Not all of that is new. So there's projects that are rolling forward, like in this instance, in 24, 25, and 26, we had budgeted for the fire station project to be moving forward. That got delayed, so now we're rolling those amounts forward into the 2026 budget. And ultimately, when you look at it, they're spread out over 26, 27. And same thing with, we're seeing that on the wastewater side with the Southside Interceptor. Those have been long-standing projects. They're not new projects, but they just didn't get started or delayed. For whatever reason. So there's a number of projects like that are just getting moved forward. They're not new spending. The new things, like we pointed out, are the addition of the police department expansion, public safety campus pulled forward, increase in road projects, and wastewater lakeshore interceptor are all pulled forward projects. So it's not new spending, it's just spending that hasn't occurred that was planned.
That it hasn't occurred, or that we had already put in the 5 years plan for 2026?
We had put in, so like in the case of the fire stations and in the Southside Interceptor, we had all planned that would start, in 24, 25, and they didn't. So now it's not new plan spending. That new plan spending is going to be like the police department expansion or the public safety, the training component of it. We didn't have any estimate in there for that. So now that's all in there based on what we know today.
Finance Director.
I think it also is important to point out that we had a higher proposed debt service issuance for 2025, for example, but because we know that those projects aren't going to occur during this time, we don't want to borrow too soon and be paying interest and everything on money that we're not utilizing. And there's also restrictions on how quickly we need to spend that. So that's why some of those projects come back. So our initial debt estimate for 25 was higher. It ended up lower, which then makes it kind of pull forward to 2026.
Just one more question. When you say that the budget there is only $50,000, right? That includes everything, right? I mean, the capital projects as well. You balance the budget including everything. Are the expenses forecasted within the capital projects part of the budget, considered part of the budget, and therefore it's all balanced?
No. So capital, it depends how you want to look at it. So we don't look at it that way. We don't want to use debt service to fund operations. So we look at the general fund, and we want to make sure that that's balanced when we get to our final budget, so we're not using fund balance. And we're never going to recommend, I hope not, that we would fund any like salaries and wages or benefits of operations with capital or with debt service. So what if you look at each project, we've got a proposal, whether it's TIF funding or debt service or grant funded. There's a multitude of sources on how we fund capital projects. So those are in each of the capital worksheets that I believe those all got posted online earlier today. So when we're saying we still have that imbalance of about 51,000, that is based on the general fund, because each of the other funds are special revenues that have, whether we do put tax dollars in some of them and we don't put tax dollars in some of the other ones, those ultimately get balanced on their own, separate from the general fund, which is essentially property tax is the main revenue source. So our goal is to make sure that we're operating within the means that are available to us. We don't have the capacity really to increase property taxes. We do that. Property taxes fund debt. So when we issue debt, we try to manage that to keep that levy as level as possible. But for operations, what we're focusing on is using available resources and make sure that we're bringing a balanced budget before you.
Thank you very much.
Director Krieger.
I'm all good.
Oh, all right. Alder Bellinger.
Thank you, Chairman. I've got a few questions here. First one, SCEDC, that reduction, what is that amount?
Right now, the city's been paying about $100,000 for close to 20 years, I believe. So a number of alders had approached me about how we're utilizing that. We've been looking at that for the last, 2 years, and we're not really using them a lot. We attempted to, and it didn't work out. We ultimately ended up using staff in-house. So our proposal is to reduce the contribution from $100,000 to $10,000 and use that $90,000 that was budgeted, use that to replace with in-house staff. And we can get more into what we intend to do with that staff, but ultimately things that like business stay interviews, following up with local businesses, things that aren't getting done, then we would have a staff position specifically dedicated to that outreach to our existing business base. We try to do as much as possible, but we have a fairly large community with a lot of businesses, and we want to make sure that we're meeting the needs of those businesses and getting them the resources before, whether they want to expand, make sure they're expanding here. If they're having issues, try to align them with resources as quickly as possible. And that's one of the large functions of what we'd look at this position doing.
Thank you. And then second, you mentioned the sanitation fee. Back in the day, we used to call that the garbage fee. But Could you go over that? You kind of glanced over it real quick. In the past, it used to be kind of like a slush fund. Anytime that there was a budget shortfall, they would just add it, add fees to it, and, it kept growing year after year. And I know you're trying to straighten this thing out, and, but if you could just go over that a little bit in a little bit greater detail.
Yep, so what we found is, as we're kind of analyzing the budget last year, going into it, we've been stagnant on our fee, and we've been using levy dollars every year to continuously plug this. And it's growing at a rate faster than our mill levy is growing at. So we have the ability to charge a fee for these services. So what we did was we changed this so kind of what you're describing can't happen. So we're treating this as a special revenue fund. And I believe we did a resolution creating it as a special revenue fund. So by doing that, we actually eliminate that possibility from happening in the future. So our goal here is to get us back to a consistent levy, and then use the fees, and all of the fees that are collected stay in that fund. So you can't use a slush fund. Only expenditures related to garbage or recycling can come out of that fund. So any fund balance that's built up, ideally, we would get to a point where we have a fund balance, and then once there's a fund balance, we don't have to increase fees. We can manage it that way. We're still going to have a certain amount of levy that goes in there, but what we're trying to do is get that back to where it's manageable, and that's why we proposed phasing this in so that we can, make sure that we have this service available to the public and maintain this service for the foreseeable future. And by setting up as a special revenue fund, we ensure that doesn't happen, because a special revenue fund requires that the revenue generated for that activity has to be spent on that activity. So we can't take that funding and put it somewhere else in the budget.
Thank you. And then just a question on the open records portal for the new website. Will the police be part of that, or are they going to have their own open records? I mean, because I know that this kind of split off between this, they have their own right now. So I was just kind of wondering how that was going to be handled.
Yep. So police department is very much involved in this. The entire intent of what we brought forward was to consolidate services wherever possible. We will have one system, and the way we've set this up, we're currently going through the setup of this. So right now, myself, Marie, Attorney Majerus, the police department, I believe Cass is going to be the administrator, and obviously Chief Zemple will be an administrator. So, and Meredith and whoever her designees are will be set up as administrators of the open record system. So essentially, you can go to one location and you request an open records from any department, council, whoever they want to make their request of. And then from the administrator standpoint, when they select a department, if it's, say they want to open records request council, we would then assign it, and it would send an email to you as council members that somebody wants your records, letting you know. And then obviously IT is also administrators on the account. So we can assign them tasks within it. So it just makes it much more interactive, and it shows where status is. So we're able to communicate with requesters directly through that portal, and we can see where all the statuses are. One of the other sides of this is all records we can then publish. So we get a lot of repeat requests. So we're able to publish those, and when folks, you get 10 requests for the exact same thing, we can just say we fulfilled it, here it is, and we no longer have to follow up with those multiple requests. So, and it's all documented. Should make it a lot more efficient and help us be able to stay on track and on top of records requests. Through our city ordinance, department heads are the custodian of their records, and through the system we currently have, it's very fragmented, and they're not really able to garner access to their records. So this will help us get that more organized and ultimately get to the point where we're fulfilling open records in accordance with our ordinances and ultimately state law.
Thank you. Just one final question. The council last year funded the design work for the pedestrian bridge, and I know Alderman Mitchell is very curious of where that stands and if that is going to become when we can expect to see the work start on that.
So work is underway on that. Obviously, this is a very complex project because you have federal funding tied to it, and then you're going across a navigable waterway, so we're dealing with the Corps, and we're dealing with the DNR, and to make matters even more fun is this former Superfund site, so even taking core samples drew out. If Director Peterson or Engineer Chump want to talk a little bit, but we've got some work done, and I'll let you elaborate.
Yeah, so we've gotten a preliminary location submittal from the consultant and a preliminary layout, and very preliminary layout that we're going through the final reviews internally. I would think within the next several months, we'll be bringing something to the Public Works Committee to review. But like Administrator Bradley said, there's a lot of legwork involved by our consultant to go through all the different permitting processes, work with Army Corps, Coast Guard, a lot of regulations we have to follow.
Thank you.
Yep.
I think probably the biggest and most significant, obviously they've went out and got some stakeholder feedback, but I think probably the biggest information we've gotten back now is the minimum height the bridge is allowed, because I know there's some interest from other groups of how tall can we make the bridge. So before we even designed anything, we had to get to that, what's the minimum design height, and then what are the cost implications of building higher. So we're just able to get that. So essentially, the lowest the bridge could possibly be is the same height as the 8th Street Bridge. And then the maximum height, I think we went back and forth, but it's not much taller. So just from a cost perspective, it becomes completely cost prohibitive to even go up another couple of feet from where they're at. So that's kind of the preliminary work that's taking place before design and all that other stuff takes place. They need to answer those questions, and we're just finally getting through all of that now.
Thank you.
Yes.
Alder Heidemann.
Thank you, Chair. My question is on the garbage fee, where we just recently increased the garbage fee. Okay, so now we're going to add another $1 for the next 3 years? Or is it just $1 this year? And going forward, are we going to continue to, because the garbage fee is supposed to pay for the garbage pickup. And I guess, are we losing money picking up our own garbage? That we have to increase that fee?
So, kind of loaded question. You hadn't increased the fees for, about 9 years. So you had a contract for, obviously we pick up and then we have to dispose of it, right? Mm-hmm. So we've not increased that fee at all, and what's happened is more and more tax levy every year. So what we're looking at is to get back to where we started at. So we're still putting in tax dollars. We're not proposing elimination of tax dollars going into this. What we're trying to do is slow that growth of the amount of tax dollars because it's outpacing net new construction to where we can't keep up with it. So what we've proposed is, I believe it was a 5-year phase in where we add $1 per year. But what we're doing is every year we're looking at that because as we build more housing, things like that, we're getting more users, and we want to make sure that we're not overcharging and we're taking in more and bringing in, using less tax dollars than what we need to be putting in there. We're just trying to slow that growth. So we're going to continue to monitor this and propose each year based on if there's need, and we're projecting a need, that we would do that. But this, by setting it up as that special revenue fund last year, we ensure that 100% of that money stays in this fund and it doesn't go anywhere else.
Okay, and the amount of that fund does pay for our garbage pickup. It covers all the expenses in the car. Because you have to remember, John and I were both around when they first came up with the garbage fee.
Yep.
And they told us it was going to sundown, and we weren't going to have it anymore. And again, I've got no problem paying a garbage fee, but I want to make sure that what we're paying is paying for what the product that we're getting.
Yep, so this is actually paying for your garbage and recycling. Okay. So collection of both. So yeah, we're looking at, increasing it $1 per year because we didn't want to put it all on. So we understand that, we're all going through price crunches and we don't want to put all that onto the taxpayers all at once, because we're all absorbing it. So our plan is to phase it in incrementally and then continue watching as we get more and more customers on there and that starts shifting it to where it's more self-sustaining. It could get to a point where we don't add extra fees until it's needed again. So the plan is to create more of a sustainable fund. The plan is not to remove property taxes from this, but continue supplementing as much as needed, but try to make it less of a burden on the general levy as possible.
Okay, one other question then. And the cost of cleaning the library, is it more expensive for us to clean the library, or was it less expensive for the library to have that cost?
It's the same cost.
So it's the exact same cost, is it?
Yeah, so the intent was a couple fold on why we created the maintenance department last year is so instead of having 10 different vendors providing whether it's services or supplies, consolidating that all into one department that becomes responsible for all of the ordering, then we can get better pricing on bulk ordering and have more consistency so we don't have all these different vendors charging different prices and inconsistent products between departments. We're able to do that. And what we found has been very successful is we cross-train all of our maintenance staff and custodial staff to the other facilities. And so if we have, a situation where we have a vacancy at the police department, we can take, our maintenance person from City Hall and they can fill in. And we're seeing that working very well. And it's actually saving us money. So we've been doing that to some extent with the library, but ultimately the library board's in control of the library staff. So by switching that over here, it's the same cost, but what will happen is now that library staff will start getting cross-trained at our other facilities that we're maintaining, and then they'll be able to fill in, and likewise, the other staff would be able to fill in at the library to make sure that we have that cross-coverage and cross-training.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Alder Boris.
Thank you, Chair. Regarding the fringe benefits, is that increase strictly related to the premium increases, or are there other things that are included in that?
Fringe in the...
I forget which slide it was on, but I know it was related to employee costs.
So fringe benefits is going to be... so fringe benefits will be health insurance, our contribution to dental insurance, Social Security, FICA, and retirement.
So that increase is primarily made up by the premium increases then?
Combination. So we had an increase in, so you're seeing a portion of that increase is related to wages because it's proportionate. And then a portion of that is your 9.3% increase in your healthcare costs. You have that 12% increase in our dental costs. And then we also had an increase from Wisconsin Retirement System. So all of that is kind of what's making up that 7.9%.
Okay, thank you. I was happy to see the Erie Street project on the list because I drive that road all the time and it really needs repair, so glad to see that. I wanted to inquire about, and I know there's probably plenty of additional detail that's not covered in what you've reviewed with us tonight, but I know that Alder Perrella and I had both reached out relatively recently about adequate street crossing, lighting, et cetera, at 13th and Erie, which currently that crosswalk it's just a painted crosswalk, but it's a trail that runs across that those 5 lanes of traffic, and there's additional development that's going in, obviously with the housing unit right there at that corner. So I was wondering if that is in the budget.
So yes, we have been looking into that because of several requests and emails coming from the alders. Kevin, city engineer, and I have been in contact with a consultant just to get some ideas of what we may be looking at in terms of cost, the equipment type that would be most suitable for that location, because you have 4 lanes of traffic. It's not a simple 2-lane where you can just get by with RFBs or whatever you do on the sides. It likely needs something to be over the roadway itself to give added notice to drivers, because we don't want to create a situation where you have drivers driving one direction and another vehicle going alongside of them. They don't see it, plow right into a pedestrian. So we are looking into that. We are hopefully going to be getting some more information before long as to an accurate estimate on that. And then at that point in time, we'll have to determine how best to incorporate that.
Okay, so there's no active line item or portion of the budget that would account for that expense next year?
Not at the moment, I do not believe.
Okay, thank you.
So that's not to say that it can't be included when we go out and do our financing. So if we want to include it and put it into a capital project and we haven't bonded for it yet, that's something that could be included, but we have to have the cost estimates before we can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Alder Close. Thank you, Chair. After reviewing the budget, I just noticed that the streets maintenance account is down 1.4%, and I wanted to see if there was some efficiencies that were driving that lowering in the budget, if we were able to do more with less or something like that, or if there was a potential impact to how streets are being maintained in the future.
Thank you. I will say that that line will most likely go up. As I mentioned earlier, with that 42% in Public Works admin, we went through quite a few iterations so far of trying to get the salaries really lining up with where their work is being completed. We want to make sure that we're actually taking full advantage of that line with the DOT aid and having our state report reflect accurately how much we're spending on roads. So I will say that that will probably go back up on their next iteration of the budget. So unfortunately, it's not because of efficiencies or something like that. It will be adjusted in the next version.
Got it. So this is more an accurate reflection on what we paid the years before for people who were working on the street maintenance accounts.
Yeah, you can see the 24 numbers are in there. So those were the actual dollar amounts. And so we'll make sure that we're falling back in line kind of where we should be based on what work is getting completed.
Okay. Thank you.
Alder Decker.
Yes, I just had a couple quick comments. First of all, to kind of answer Alder Heideman's thing about the recycling fees and stuff like that. I know we worked on this several years ago when we went to the hard type of garbage, and one of the things that was brought up about that was the fact that what had been in the past actually revenue on recycling turned into actual cost, whereas now we don't get anything. We have to pay for a tipping fee now, whereas it used to be on recycling we used to actually get revenue from it. We don't get revenue from it anymore. It's just that it's an added, and the tipping fees have gone up significantly, and because of that, that is one of the reasons why the cost has gone up so much. The tipping fee has really increased. So just wanted to throw that in there just as an added. I had one quick question. You have 20th South 20th Street from Georgia to Indiana. That was on the list, but I thought we did this year, or is there still some added things being done to that street, or? I don't know why it was on the list, because I thought it was done. So
it might be the continuation or finalization of that, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, Georgia, Indiana. Is that just finalizing it?
If nothing else, I'll confirm.
That's good. Well, if there's anything else, I just was kind of, so I would let the residents know, because I know we have an Indiana quarter meeting the other night, and I wanted to let them know if there was something else.
Yeah, because that's in-house.
Yeah, so, okay.
It's not a major work.
Okay. All right, that's all I had.
All right, thank you. Alder Perella.
Thank you, Chair. In regards to what Alder Burse asked before, for example, if a project like, if there is an estimate in October or November about, for example, the cost of adding some type of control in that space on Indiana that we were talking about. Sorry, not Indiana, on Erie and 13th. So is there a threshold by which in order to include it in the budget, or it depends on the cost of that project that could be covered, so to speak, within the budget that we have anyway, if that estimate comes later? Let's say any adjustment there would cost $50,000. So is that are we going to find a way possibly to do it in 2026 with the current allocations, or we have to have that degree of estimate already before the budget is approved? In other words, I'm thinking, do we have the hopes that something is done in 2026, or we have to wait 2027 if that estimate comes in too late?
Honestly, it's really a council decision. It's ultimately your budget. Once we get the cost estimate, we have estimates, our in-house engineering staff have put together the estimates of what we believe these are going to cost. In this case, we're consulting an outside engineer to come up with what are the best solutions to this, so that it's a little more unique than, a traditional project that we would have. If council so desired, I believe once the budget is adopted, we'll need a 3/4 vote, majority vote, and we can include this into that. From a cost perspective, I really don't know if we're talking $50,000, $1 million, what kind of structure we're looking at. So until we have that answer, I can't really tell you what the impacts of that decision are going to be. But it's certainly something we could bring to the DPW committee and see, or the Public Works committee, and see what direction they want to take. And if the decision is to try pushing it forward and getting it done in 2026, we can certainly do that and bring it forward for council's consideration.
Director Peterson.
One other thing too, to consider that we would certainly, and we've started to look at, if there could be potential grants for this as a safety feature. Don't want to say the downside, but the price you pay, so to speak, is that if you want that done sooner rather than later, we may not have an opportunity or time to wait for that grant, because that grant could take 6-9 months to a year before we receive and we're able to proceed. So depending on council's wish for how quickly you would like to see something, it could cost us in the long run. So, but we are looking to that, and hopefully we'll have some clarification on potential grants or funding opportunities, later this month, or sometime in October or whatnot. So.
Truly appreciate it. I have one little question as well. In regards to the pedestrian bridge, I remember that there was something that it has to be decided. There was a deadline to get the federal money. Is that correct? Do I remember it correctly? And what is that? I thought it was the end of this year, the deadline for that?
No, this is I think they're called Tiger Grant now, or was a raise grant. The program's been renamed like 3 different times now. But essentially, the funds have to be expended by the end of 2028. So we're on track I believe right now the anticipated construction would be in 2027 is the timeline that we're on now. So we would be complete ideally before in 27, so we'd be about a year ahead of the funding requirement.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Seeing no other cues, I would just like to thank city staff and city leadership for presenting this. I know it is a tall task every year for the budget. But with that being said, our next scheduled meeting date will be October 14th, 2025. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Alder Bellinger made the motion. Alder Perla seconded it. And all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Chair votes aye. We are adjourned at 8:53. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.